Okay, folks, we're live tonight, and it's September something. I forget dates. I'm getting old, and I don't remember it. What's the 8th? Because the Apple thing's tomorrow. Anyway, with me tonight is Gina Costa out of New Jersey, uh, cancer survivor and oncology or cancer coach that we ran into each other over Twitter, and I'm excited to bring her on, and I think you're going to really like her, and I hope you got to look at her website beforehand, New Beginnings with Gina, and if you didn't, well, meet her right now, and then you'll look at her website later tonight. But anyway, Gina, I want to welcome you to the show and say it's yours, so tell us about yourself, please.
Thank you, Roy. I appreciate the opportunity. So basically, cancer touched my life about 13 years ago when I lost my mom, who I was very close to ovarian cancer. Um, and, that affected me very deeply because 3 days later I gave birth to my daughter, and I basically went into what was called a grief-induced postpartum depression, which I stayed in for about a year. And when I
Wow.
came out of that, I really made a vow to myself to turn all my negative events into positive ones. And also because of the severity of the disease, I became very proactive in my health and promoting the cause. So I went for genetic testing. I got heavily involved in fundraising for women's cancers. I became a top fundraiser for a big event in New York every year, and I've been doing that for the past 13 years. And I think I really did that as a coping mechanism and a way to keep my mom's memory alive. So fast forward about a decade later, when I was kind of thinking, do I still want to do the fundraising stuff? And my sister was diagnosed with breast cancer. Now, oddly enough, we both kind of always thought ovarian cancer. Because it's a silent killer, and they say it whispers. And I was I was deeply affected by her diagnosis. And about a year later, almost to the day, I was diagnosed with stage 1 invasive lobular breast cancer. I tell people that I feel like I got hit by a bolt of lightning because I felt in some ways, for me, it was a message that I needed to change my life and to slow it down a little bit and not to be, so busy with things and so stressful.
Yeah.
um, and I underwent, so it was a big message for me, and the work came later. But I underwent a double mastectomy, several reconstruction surgeries, and fortunately for me, the cancer didn't go to my lymph nodes, so I didn't really have treatment per se, but I'm on tamoxifen for the next 5 years. And probably about 3 weeks after my last surgery, one of my fundraising events was coming up. And I had always had a passion for helping others. And this organization approached me to do a survivor story. And my immediate response to the cancer was, and if you'll excuse me, this isn't cancer. This is the boob job that I always wanted. So immediately I tried to reframe. Um, I think mainly because of the history that's in my family, and I really wanted to have a positive spin on it. So my thing was, I thought of it as improving my body. I wasn't denying it, but I was just trying to put a more positive spin on it.
Yeah.
And that was sort of the title of the story that I did for the fundraiser. She took cancer out of the equation. And that the writer, who did the story on me actually happened to be a life coach as well. And we developed a friendship. And lo and behold, I'm a certified cancer survivorship coach.
So tell me about the life coach. What is that for me and the other folks?
Yeah, basically coaching, it's different than therapy because therapy deals, with things in the past. A mentor would tell you, okay, this is the way I did something. You should follow in my footsteps. A consultant would come in and tell you, I've looked at your systems or your business, and this is the way you should do it. But what a life coach does is try to create awareness for you, and they ask questions, and basically, they everything is about the present. We do go to the past as a frame of reference, but basically, it's to take action steps to take you from point A to point B. For example, in my work, to take you from diagnosis through treatment, through what my tagline is, what I've done for a lot of my life is create new beginnings after life events. So basically, I took my story and I said, this isn't going to pull me down. I'm going to turn it into a positive. I'm going to make my life even better.
Okay.
So basically, and what I try to tell my clients is, I know I know how severe this is and what a blow it is to get a cancer diagnosis, but think of it, and when we get into, the coaching sessions, think of all you're going through and what an opportunity this is to create and give yourself a more fulfilling life.
I told you, I guess last night, I worked with Carl Simonton for a couple of years, who did a lot of work in the mind-body part of oncology, and I consider him one of the fathers of the whole thing. And he said the same thing about his work. He says, psychologists or psychiatrists tend to go in the past and deal a lot with that, and it's kind of crude. He says, we don't have time to go through all the past. Let's deal with what we have now and go forward and develop a good plan of action. And that's what I'm hearing that you say, that let's recognize the past, but let's not dwell on it. Let's come up with a plan to get out of this hole or make things
better. Absolutely. And I've been in therapy because of, for example, that situation that I had with my mom. I lost my mom and I had my daughter. And therapy is amazing and it's great. But I've seen some things in my own life that coaching has raised to the surface in considerably less time, than therapy has. So, and I actually see my clients see that as well.
Now,
it's
did
really
you have? Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Did you have any hard parts with your diagnosis and working with things, or were you always kind of on the offensive the whole time?
No, I definitely had my moments, with my emotions, and, that's how I sort of developed what I call the 7 stages to mastering your journey, which is you have to go through your emotions, you have to own them. You're going to have anxiety, you're going to have fear, you're going to have anger, you're going to be a little depressed. But, once you own those feelings and you go through them and you really experience them and not push them away, you're able to get to a place of acceptance. And then I realized the next thing immediately, after your diagnosis is getting support. You have to get support because you have to, as women, we think we need to rule the world and do everything for everybody else. So you got to give up that control and let other people in. And the next thing is, and I'll go quickly, is self-care. You really need to love yourself. And sometimes for some of that's a hard thing to do because we don't even think about it. We're so concerned about caring for others. And then basically just to start creating intentions for yourself, seeing where you want to move on, starting to take action, living in the now, which was very difficult for me. I never lived in the now. I was always living in the future. And then basically moving on to creating a new life that you want based on all the emotions that have come up, not only, in the cancer, but I think cancer survivors or people that are diagnosed with cancer, they have like a double whammy because it's like they have to deal with the diagnosis, and then as they're dealing with that, so much other stuff comes up. Do I want to be in this relationship? Self-doubt, I'm not, control, self-care, so much stuff comes up.
So you're married,
So I
right?
did go through it, yes.
Okay. How did your husband do with this, and what happened with the marriage? I don't know anything.
No, my husband was, and I'm getting the chills now, extremely supportive. He was there with me every step of the way, unlike some husbands who I've experienced, and everybody's different, everybody reacts different. I mean, he helped me change my drains. He really did everything for me. I feel like in some ways I pushed him away a little bit because I still wanted to keep my independence, but he was truly amazing, and really that helped me a lot, and in some ways, brought the marriage together. And then I'll be honest with you, you know, in some ways being involved in the coaching, it's given us challenges, but it's also, um, again, provided me a sense of awareness so that I've given up control, which has given my husband Chris a chance to step up. So,
Okay.
you know, nothing is perfect, but we're working on it.
Okay. Now, how did you interact with your doctors and nurses? Did you take the center role, or because you're saying giving up control, and
Yeah, no, not necessarily. I actually, you know, got my diagnosis in New Jersey, and my gynecologist gave me a couple of places, you know, very nice hospitals or whatever treatment places to go to in New Jersey. But I saw how well my sister did at Memorial Sloan Kettering, and I remember back from my mom's diagnosis. I mean, she was in her 60s, so with her, and she was diagnosed late stage 4 ovarian
yeah.
cancer. So they basically said that she would get the same treatment, so wherever she would be comfortable would be best for her. But I
Okay.
felt, you know, because I had value, even though I need to be reminded of that sometimes, that I wanted to go to the best. And I have to tell you, it was an amazing experience. I feel like I want to work for Sloan sometimes, because when you walk in and the parking attendants, the way they treat you, so it's really like a whole family there. It's amazing.
Yeah. Nice. Now, tell me about the programs you got going now for other folks with cancer.
Okay, so I have been speaking in some breast centers in New Jersey, but I do offer one-on-one coaching. I have a 90-minute intensive session that I offer. I also have a 4-hour VIP day, and I also offer a six-month coaching program, which, you know, it all depends on the level of commitment the person has. The 6 months is, I think it's really for somebody who wants to change. Basically, all my programs, what we do is we evaluate, we look at your challenges, we address any blocks that you have, we see where things are coming from, we kind of go to the core and see where things are really coming from, and then we create strategies to move on, depending on how the client wants to move on and where
Yeah.
they want to go with things.
Now, when do you think the best time for folks to come into the program? On diagnosis, or down the road if there's issues, or?
You know, it's all different. Everybody's different. I found myself that there are three groups of women that I deal with, either those that are just diagnosed and they're dealing with the emotions heavily, you know, anxiety and fear and what's next. There's so much unknown. And then there are people in kind of in the middle of that who are going through treatment and are fighting things like fatigue and, you know, getting back to their jobs and, you know, can they do this and that around the house, and should I be driving my kids around and vomiting in the middle of chemotherapy, you know, stuff like that. And then, you know, there's also the ones that are at the end of the journey, and I don't have to tell you that. And even me, you know, in my treatment, it's like when you finish with all your doctor visits, it's almost like you got kicked off a cliff, because they become family. And then you just feel, I think, so exposed, and which is not such a bad thing, but it's like you don't know where to go next.
Yeah.
So, you know, I get people from all those aspects. And I mean, ideally, I would love to deal with people from day one. But, you know, nothing is linear.
Now, it seems like fear is a big issue with a lot of people with cancer, and
Absolutely.
you know, I reckon it's fear of dying and fear that treatment's not working and losing family, whatnot. Is there a
And
way to?
the whole thing with that is, I think, you know, you really have to tell people, and, you know, myself included when I went through it, you know, just to take it. I know it's difficult to grasp, but just to take it piece by piece, because really that's all you can do, and just to, you know, sort of let go of the things that you can't control. Okay, I have this disease, but now I'm going to be proactive. I can control how I'm, you know, how I'm going to jump in and participate in my health.
Yeah. Wow. There's a lot there too, there, isn't there?
I could talk for hours about this stuff.
Now, you said you were on the tamoxifen, right?
Yes.
Do you have any chemotherapy or
No.
much?
No.
Do you have any trouble with the brain fog or chemo brain with
No.
that?
No. I mean, I had some side effects, but initially I was very tired and I got over that. Yes, I have some weight gain, but I'm also 49 years old and kind of going through the
Just
menopause.
a puppy, aren't you?
Yeah. So really I have to get out there and exercise a little bit more. But I find for me, um, the mindset, Roy, really helps.
I think from my experience, I think really what you're doing and working with these folks is just as important as the chemotherapy. And in fact, to be honest, I think it's probably more important than the chemotherapy. It's all the other things people do and to empower the mind and the heart and the soul to keep going. The drug
You
therapy
know,
or hormonal therapy is the easy part. And I say that kind of in a strange way, that the more effort that it takes is doing what you're talking about doing.
yeah. And I find I was, call it fortunate that I had a history of cancer in my family, but maybe I was able to navigate it a little bit better than most. But
Yeah.
that's why I want to be there to support people because there is so much fear of the unknown. And yes, everybody's journey is different. But for example, I'm working with some clients and I had one who had gone through chemotherapy. She was fine with that, but then she was ready to have surgery and she was terrified.
Yeah.
And she asked me a lot of questions, and we shared a lot. And I said, well, this is kind of what happens. This is not, I don't know, you have your own doctors. I'm not a doctor. But, you can give them a little window or something to hold on to or kind of put that fear to bed a little bit.
Now, you're in New Jersey. Do they have to be local to get a hold of you or work with you, or can you do this over the net?
No, all of my coaching is done over the phone. So I can coach someone literally, on the other side of the world.
Now, I don't like talking on the phone, so how would you work with me?
Very carefully.
Very careful, right?
I would
Okay.
I would get a plane
Huh?
ticket and fly out.
You may never leave Montana. That's a state in the union. But
I can imagine.
yeah. Uh, your oncologist, did they know what all you were doing, or was this separate from them, or how'd you interact with those guys or women?
Um, Meaning, I love my oncologist, but I'm not sure I understand the question. She was also from Sloan Kettering,
Okay.
and she is actually in a different location. Sloan is in Manhattan. She's in Basking Ridge, New Jersey, and the reason I selected that location was in the event I had to go through chemotherapy. It's really in a beautiful location.
Okay.
And I was referred to her by my doctors, and I absolutely love her. And it's funny because you would think that you would bond with your breast surgeon, but I think I really bonded with my plastic surgeon and then my oncologist because I cried with my breast surgeon, but with my plastic surgeon, I cried, I laughed, I made him think I was nuts by, just with my humor. But
Yeah.
he was really the one who was with me every step of the way, and I was saying, Doc, you got to get me, I'm feeling, I'm not feeling confident, I'm scared, I'm this, I'm that, and he was really my buddy. And then,
Okay.
and my oncologist is a woman, and I absolutely love her.
Well, I guess, yeah. I think a lot of oncologists, whether it's the breast surgeons or the medical oncologists, they're good at what they do with the chemotherapy, the operations, whatnot. They don't tend to do a lot of the softer side of oncology or getting through the crises, the emotional stuff. One, because they simply don't have time, and two, they're not really knowledgeable of how to
Mm.
do that. They're not trained in that. So I guess my question was, and you've kind of answered that, did you let them know the other things you were doing, or were they encouraging you to find these alternative places to do
Oh
what they
no,
couldn't do?
no, I did it on my own. I just
Okay.
had that desire, and it's unfortunate that the bigger medical institutions aren't won't allow coaching in, or actually some of them are. The coaching school that I went to, IPAC, is actually getting into healthcare and getting in there and training the doctors and nurses.
Nice. Nice.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, your folks that go through your program, do they stay with you the whole time they're going through treatment, or is it more of a finite
It's
weeks
totally
or
up to
month,
them.
or up to?
Yeah, I mean, it's totally up to them. They can go, piece by piece until they feel comfortable, or if they want to really get in there, kind of like me, and really dig in and make change. And once you're committed, it's really hard to go back because you get so far.
Okay.
And it's, I don't want to call it an addiction, but it's nice. It can be a little painful, but it's really enlightening, and it's simply amazing. I mean, what you can get from coaching.
And
I have my own coach, by the way.
Oh, do you really?
I do.
Is she or he local, near you, or long distance?
No, she is actually the person who did the story on me.
Oh.
We remained friends, and she's my coach, and she's out in LA.
Nice. Now, I assume they don't have to have referral from their doctors to you, right? They can just contact you individually?
Yes.
And how do they do that?
So they can go to my website, which is www.newbeginningswithgina.com, or they can pick up the phone and call me, 917-882-2402. They can email me, gina@newbeginningswithgina.com. I'm also on Facebook, facebook.com/Gina Costa Coach. So, there's a number. I'm also on Twitter, but there's a number of ways they can reach me, and I'd love to say hi.
Okay. And for everybody watching, what I'll do either later tonight or first thing in the morning, I'll put all those addresses onto the video so you can see that in person and get those addresses down. So that give me at least a day for that, but by tomorrow night I'll have all that out for you. So
excellent.
What else we need to say, or you want to share?
I just want to say that it's a journey, and there's no finish line, and, however far you want to take the journey, you can take it. If you just want to take it and get past your diagnosis, that's fine. If you need it through treatment, it's all up to the individual. The client is the one who runs the show. It's their agenda. The coach is merely just a facilitator, providing, a safe environment. And really just asking empowering questions, sharing. It's very powerful.
Now, you had breast cancer. Is this only for folks with breast cancer or other?
No, I actually am coaching some people that have not, been affected by cancer, and I guess attracted to me for various reasons. So yeah, no, I'm trained as a life coach. So, and this was just my passion. This is my niche, but I can work with virtually anybody, and I do have that experience as a caregiver. And just one note on the caregiver side, going through that experience, yes, it's hormones and everything which led to that depression, but I took really good care of my mom and really good care of my unborn baby, and I kind of forgot about myself there. So that's a message out there for caregivers. Take care of yourselves.
Now, you said you wouldn't touch me with a 10-foot pole or something like that, but I assume you'll work with
absolutely
or something like that. That's the way I remember it. What about guys?
I'm sorry?
Working with men.
Oh, guys?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Especially guys like you. Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, men are affected by breast cancer. Men are caregivers. Yeah. Just to give you a little bit of an idea, probably sometime after everything, my treatment and everything, it's like you're so concerned about the patient and yourself that I didn't really think of my husband's feelings. And it was just one day he said to me, he almost broke down. He's like, I don't know how you do this. How do you not worry, about recurrence? And it was at that point where I said, wow, I never really considered his feelings in all this. It's just the way it is. So yeah, the guys. Yep. I'm not working with any right now, but I'd love to work with them.
Okay. What about the caregivers? Can you help them out?
Absolutely. I've been in their shoes.
Yeah. I don't. With the ladies with breast cancer, I think more than any other cancer, that their husbands seem to have a lot of difficulty dealing with it. And I don't know, it's because they're having to give up the power that they had over their wives, giving it to the medical doctor to take part of their wives that was so valuable to them. But and I'm not saying it correctly, but the husbands and the women with breast cancer really had a hard time, I think, in my opinion. But you can help the caregivers too, right?
Absolutely.
Okay, good. Anything else you'd like to cover?
That's it.
We got a minute or two right now.
Yeah, no, I mean, really just all the support you can get out there. If this was 5 years ago for me, I probably would have reemerged when I was healthy, but that's really key.
Okay. Well, folks, I'm going to sign out right now. Gina, stay on because I want to talk to you afterwards here.
Yep.
But again, everybody, go to her website, New Beginnings with Gina. I mean, it's a fantastic site, and there's a lot going on there. Look that up. We found each other over Twitter. I'm going to have all this information up on the screen at least by tomorrow night. And I really encourage you. She can do some great things to help you get through this. And I haven't thought of this till she just started talking tonight about the caregiver, but the caregivers are awfully important in getting the person through the cancer. And their feelings, emotions are very important. So think about working with her caregivers too, because that's vital for helping your loved one get through the process. So once again, Gina, thank you. And
my pleasure.
Good night. Yeah.
Thank you.
So, going to sign off here. Hang on, Gina.